Hello friends, ever wonder what the process is for obtaining a guide dog? Well, that's a question that I often get asked, and I'm going to answer that for you today. So the first thing I did was go ahead and visit the school. And they actually have tours that they conduct about once a month, and they show you all the facilities. You get to see some puppies, you get to actually kind of test drive a dog that they have, that they blindfold you, you hold the harness, and you kind of walk around with the dog and see what the dog can do for you. I immediately fell in love with the idea of having a guide dog in my life, and I went and started the process, the application process for getting a guide dog. So the process, the first thing you have to have, number one, is you have to have your orientation and mobility training. What that means is that you can use a white cane, and there has to be somebody that's certified that can sign off on this document for you. Next thing is that you have to be blind. So you need that's the easiest part. You just need your ophthalmologist to provide your medical records to the school. You also need to provide your medical records from your primary care doctor. The reason for that is they want to make sure that you're somebody that's healthy enough and in good shape that's going to actually be able to use the dog and walk around with the dog. The dog is not a pet, so they want somebody that's going to be active and be able to use the dog in their daily life. The next thing that you have to provide is testimonials from 3 different people, and they're going to attest they feel that having a guide dog for you is going to help you in your day-to-day life. So once that information is all submitted, it goes to a committee, they meet, and then they make a decision as to a preliminary approval, which that's what I originally got. That was pretty quick. Once you got that, then they come to the house and they do an in-home interview. So the in-home interview, it's pretty thorough. They ask a lot of questions. They want to know basically your level of activity, what you're going to use the dog for, and they just want to make sure that the dog is going to be going to a good home. One of the things that they do at this home interview is that they walk with you and they measure your walking speed. The reason why they do that is because they try to match you up with a dog that walks at about the same pace. As you can imagine, this is very important. If you have a dog that walks very fast and you walk slow, that could be a problem because the dog's just going to be dragging you around. It's going to be uncomfortable. Likewise, if you walk fast and the dog walks too slow, you're going to feel like you're dragging the dog around or that you're just moving way too slow. So either combination is bad. So there has to be a good fit where both the dog and the human are walking at the right pace for each other. And that's very, very important in this whole process. So once that in-home interview takes place, it goes back to the committee. They go ahead and meet, and then you get the approval. So then, yay, you're approved. And it's just a waiting game after that. So from the time that I got approved till I actually got called into guide dog school for the training, it was 15 months. Now during that time, you're completing some online modules, which are extremely helpful because they give you a lot of information on basic care for the dog and just expectations of what you're going to do when you get there. They give you some basic cues for the guide dogs, so you have a basic understanding of the cues that you're going to be working with while you're there and that you're going to be trained on. So this gives you a really good basis, a good foundation for what's going to happen once you get to the actual training. Once you get called, it's actually an exhilarating moment, and they usually call you about a month before the training actually begins. So I got called and I arrived at guide dog school. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it's just a first class organization, first class everywhere. They have dorms set up for you where you have it's a private little suite. I had 8 classmates. Everybody has different degrees, varying degrees of blindness. Some people are completely blind, some have a lot of useful vision, and a lot of people just kind of in between. But everybody needs their guide dog. The training is tailored to your needs, so at that point the dog is already trained on basic commands, and then you need to be able to work with the dog and know how to use the dog. So at that point the dog is trained, but not the human. So they train the human on how to use the dog, and then they give you the tools to continue to forward once you get home, because at the end of the day it's still a dog. It's not a robot, so they're still gonna make mistakes, and you have to be able to correct them properly. So that's what they give you all the tools that you need, so when you go home you have the tools to be able to work with that dog. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. From what I've been told, it takes about 6 months for the human and the dog, for the team, to become a well-oiled machine. So I'm in the process, continuing at home, continue to work with Eddie, and I can just think back to the first day that I got Eddie to now, and it's night and day. And it continues to get better every day, and people need to understand that it's not just you go there, you pick up a dog and you move forward. There is a bond that has to exist between the dog and myself. For me personally, I've noticed it when I go with him out at night. He's a lot more focused than he is during the day, because he understands that I can't see at all at night, and that he is 100% in control at that time. And I've noticed that he's much more focused, doesn't have any distraction, he's just working. So the training while you're there, it's fabulous. They're first class all the way. Trainers are great. They feed you 3 meals a day. They feed you on campus. They have chefs there. In terms of the cost of these guide dogs, there is zero cost. If this is something that's a concern for you, just keep in mind that this is a nonprofit organization. They cover everything. Dog is free. They cover the food for the life of the dog. The veterinarian visits are included for the life of the dog. The only thing that's not included is if he has an accident or is sick, an emergency veterinary care out of the ordinary. That's something that comes out of pocket. But everything else, the heartworm medications, the flea and tick medications, all that stuff is covered 100%. You don't have to come in out of pocket for anything. If that's a concern for you, that should not be a concern in this case, because the organization does cover everything. Again, they're a nonprofit organization, all funded by private donations, no government money involved, and they're just fabulous people, and they really do a great job of taking care of their clients. That's all I have for you today. I hope that answers your questions regarding the process for obtaining a guide dog. If you have any questions, please email me at miamiguyandhisguidedog@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate you following this channel, and I will see ya.